There we go. The ride in the Vagabond Falcon. Apologize for the wind here. She's done. Break it down for you. On top, she's a 1960 Ford Falcon, and underneath, she is a 1993 Fox body. I'm going to have to keep the windows up here so I can talk to you. Starting procedure for one of these things, now that things have changed, there's normally, this choke doesn't do anything anymore, this defrost doesn't do anything anymore. Because the transmission tunnel is larger, we only have one tube going up here to the defrost. So if you turn the heat on, you're getting defrost no matter what. That's the only path the air has to go. This has an electric operated choke, but right now the linkages for the throttle don't quite trip it. So you'd have to pop the hood if this was a cold day and just trip the choke itself. It would drop the plate and you'd be done. But we won't need to do that now. Normally you would press twice to get the accelerator pump to shoot a little bit of gasoline down into the intake or into the carburetor as well, and that we don't have to do that because the engine still, the water temperature is still registering a little bit of temperature, so we have at least 130 degrees in there, so we are good to start it. B&M mega shifters, kind of difficult to explain to people who aren't already familiar with manuals. They operate, since these things are universal, all they require is one hole going down and to go right down to the transmission, which is really right below it. But although Tony at Bruce Henn said you can mount them anywhere. You could mount them up here and it'd still work as long as the cable can reach down. There is not a big hole under this. There is just four screw holes to hold it on, and then a larger hole for the cable. That's right down in front. So, to operate these things, different B&M mega shifters come in different forms. This one has a trigger release. In park, trigger up immediately to 2. 2 is really drive, and drive is overdrive. To get it out of drive, it's now stuck here. Notice I don't have to pull the trigger anymore. This is the whole drag racing function here. Oh, you can tell I'm rolling a little bit. Foot on the brake. To get it back into park, see, now I'm used to it. I can do it without thinking. To get it back into park from drive, you can't get it out of drive. To get out of drive, you have to go back to 2, trigger, park. That's the safety feature built into it. That's so you can't accidentally shift into neutral if you're drag racing. You can only go back down. And incidentally, and you can't get out of 1 either. 2 is, you think of 2 as drive, drive is overdrive. That's how the little linkages work. Ugh, it's getting hot in here, quick. Let's get moving. All right, didn't take. There she goes. So, into 2, start rolling a little bit. You don't need the trigger, click it up into drive, good to go. I am gonna break the window here just to give me a little bit of air, please. With currently the 373 rear gearing, she is incredibly punchy. And there's the shift to second gear. I can easily see us going to 355 gearing. That would put us directly, that would give it the same sort of dynamics of a Fox body, or we could even go, we could even gear more mild, even all the way down to 308. 308 would get us pretty good mileage, although I think 355 would be a nice compromise to anything. We're going to be doing a hill start, a hill pull up here, and even though we're still in the break-in period, 69,000 miles is going to be our first oil change. We are only a few hundred away from that. We're good to go. So here we go. Foot down. It may have already been in second gear. I think that, well, that might have been third gear. Oh, that was third gear, now it's fourth gear. about Walker Quiet Flow mufflers. Lots of whistling going on in here. Body panels didn't fit like they do today. You're talking about Walker Quiet Flow mufflers, we hardly hear the engine, right? If I snug these windows up, maybe with some extra Dynamat or foam or something, we're just cruising right along and you hardly hear the motor at all. Isn't that nice? So Bruce, you built a wonderful, fast, smooth cruiser. And you notice we're not bumping around. Even with those tiny tires, this car just sails. He knows how to set a car up perfectly. And right about here is where this Falcon shines right now. Before, it didn't like the highways, it liked back roads. Actually, before, what it really liked was towns, where it never had to go faster than 40 miles an hour. Now, it just sits. You notice this thing is doing an indicated 65, more like 60. The speedometer is reading about 5 miles an hour fast, so that's probably, Bruce says, well, that's your 373 rear gearing. The tire size is about the same, and probably if we dump it down to 355 rear gearing, we won't have to worry about changing gears anymore. I am going to go up and around on some back roads here. Oh, these brakes are nice. These are really, really good brakes. Hey, something moved around down by my feet. What do I got here? Sunblock. Back seat it goes. Thank you to everybody who donated to Patreon and Patreon, and watches the videos. Without this, regular cars would have never been able to build this, and now that the weather's getting a little bit cooler, today is September 1st, we'll be able to take this more and more. See, now we get, the gear ratios, even though we have a aggressive rear end, the gear ratios of the Ford AOD are still far apart. The AOD was just made as its general purpose automatic transmission. Although you can build them up, and they do take 700 horsepower if you need them to. It's really more meant for a cruiser thing. So maybe with this bigger rear end, we're see the front suspension is great, and the front suspension is modern with the AA arms and coilovers. It's very tight, but the rear, the only thing has changed about that suspension is gas adjust shocks and Falcon Sprint leaf springs from 1963, new old stock, or rather, no, they aren't new old stock. They're remanufactured or modern. Well, anyway, the shocks on the leaf springs on the rear are meant for a 63 Falcon Sprint, but since they bolt right in, that's what we're using. I am gonna click it down into 2. Hopefully it'll make it a little, there is a lot of steering input that you need to give this wheel, because although my ratio has gotten sportier with the manual rack, you still have a very wide wheel here, so still the dimensions are large. You see a lot of people with resto modded Falcons like this, they go to a smaller wheel, which is the down and dirty way to get a more aggressive steering ratio. Whereas me, I like this big wheel. I've never had an old car, and I like the la 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 la. You notice it still moves down here, but since it's so wide, it looks like there's slop in it, and there is a little bit of center slop, but it's nowhere near what it was. It'll take, if I put it back into drive, really overdrive, it won't take overdrive until indicated 50 miles an hour, which is really 45 miles an hour. It'll take its overdrive. So before that, it'll just sit in third. See, if I go up to 50, there it is. Now it's in 4th gear. And it'll stay in gear, it won't kick down to third, it'll kick down to second if our speed gets down so far. I can tell it to click down into third. The kick down will work, but only if I mash the pedal, because then that pulls on the throttle valve cable, which which the TV cable then pulls down on the arm, down on the transmission, and that raises the pressure within, I think, the valve body of the AOD, and that will give us third gear again. The only time I really use that is highway pulls when I'm above, say, 60, or if I need to pass somebody. Otherwise, if I'm down on a back road like this, I just go like that, and that gives me second right away. There is no rev limiter. So, what is the red line of a 5.0 HO motor? 5,500, maybe? Don't exceed that. I mean, that sounds about right. I objected to putting a tack into this thing. And by objected, I mean never brought it up. Because I didn't want this whole muscle carb look to it. I'm so happy that we got this from Retro Sound, or I bought it from Retro Sound. Oh man, right here, this TCI suspension, thank you so much for giving us this front end here. That turn, the car in its old, the front would just push, the whole car would lean over. Now it doesn't. How's my temperature? Oh yeah, still my new best friend, but we're at 185, which is just peachy for this motor. A 5.0's like 185 to 195. Above 195, you kind of have to start looking at it. And just because we're slowing down here and coming to a light, I see it crawling up to 190 now. I'm going to preemptively turn the pusher fan on, get some air flowing before it's time to sit at this stoplight, which I know is coming up. How long was my turn signal on? I don't know. I keep bringing up Bruce Henn's Garage because I can't bring it up enough. Hey, we're back on this road again. It's getting pretty hot right now in here. I'm really gonna have to open these windows up. And so thank you so much. Thank you for liking regular car reviews. And I hope you will be able to see the Vagabond Falcon in person someday. Have a great afternoon.